Hey everybody, it's Mr. Fred bringing you a video on tactics. So what's a tactic? A tactic is a forcing set of moves that results in an advantage. For us, for our purposes, we're going to define it as a forcing set of moves that results in a material gain. So the key components of our definition are: one, it's forced. In other words, your opponent has no choice. There's no defense against a tactic. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a tactic. Secondly, and again, this is for strictly our purposes, because technically the definition of the word tactic might be broader, but for our purposes, it has to result in a material gain. You need to gain in points. We assign points to pieces, to value them. So it has to result in a material gain. You need to be gaining points as a result of your tactic. So now we're going to look at different types of tactics, which are usually called tactical themes or tactical motifs. All right, so the first tactical theme we're going to look at is what's called a fork. And a fork is when you attack two pieces at the same time, and your opponent can't defend them both. They basically need to choose one or the other, or they're going to lose one piece or the other. So you can pause the video now if you want to try to figure out the answer. It's white to move. All right, so knight takes c7 check is a fork because it's attacking the black king and the black rook at the same time. And black can't defend both pieces. Obviously, because it's a check, moving the king is forced. So let's say the king comes here to d7, then knight takes a8. So white obviously goes up in material. Even if white loses the knight, white has gained material in this exchange. So this would be considered a tactic, specifically a fork. So now we're going to look at a fork that involves a different piece. I'll give you guys a few seconds to pause the video. It's white to move. So the answer is rook c7. Because now the rook is attacking both of black's bishops. The light squared bishop on b7 and the dark squared bishop on e7. And no matter what black does, there is no move possible that black can save both pieces. There's no tricky way to get out of it. He can't come here because then I'm just going to take. And this is a fair trade, for those of you wondering. Let's back up. So in this situation, black cannot save both bishops. He has to choose one or the other. If he tries to save the light squared bishop, he loses the dark squared bishop. So this is a tactic, specifically a fork, because it's forced and white gains a material advantage. Therefore, it's a tactic. So now we're going to take a look at another tactical theme called a pin. So it's white to move. Pause your video to find it. All right, so the answer is rook c1. And the reason why this is a pin is because the queen can no longer move. Or rather, can't move off of the c file. So the rook is attacking the queen. And the queen can't take the rook because it's defended by the knight and by the bishop. Well, she could, but then she'd be losing how many points? You can pause your video if you want. Black would be losing 4 points because they'd be gaining 5, but then they'd be losing 9 when white recaptured. So 9 minus 5 is 4. So they'd be losing 4 points. So black doesn't want to take the rook. Really, black would just love to run away with this queen. But black cannot, because if the queen were to move off of the c file, black would be in check. So it would be an illegal move. So the way we would express this is the rook is pinning the queen to the king. The rook is pinning the queen to the king. All right, so now we're going to look at another pin involving a different piece. White to move. Pause your video if you want to try to solve it first. And the answer is bishop g5. And the bishop is pinning the rook to the queen. So if the rook were to try to save itself, if black were to try to save the rook, let's say by playing rook g6, well then it would expose the queen to capture. Bishop takes d8, and black would go down 9 points. So in this is considered a tactic because let's say black instead tries to break the pin. So let's say black brings the queen up. Well, then now you can take the rook. So here, once again, an example of a tactic because it's forced. Black can't get out of it. And white is going to go up material. The next type of tactical theme or motif we're going to talk about is called a Xray attack, otherwise known as a skewer. And it's very similar to a pin in some ways. The difference is that the more valuable piece is in front. So, for example, this situation, this position, is very similar to the last example we just reviewed. The main difference is the black queen and the black rook are in reverse positions. So previously the black rook was on f6 and the queen was on d8, and now they're reversed. So it's white to move. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to pause your video and think about the answer. You can unpause it when you found it. So the answer is bishop g5. And you'll notice now that the white bishop is attacking the black queen. And the black queen, it wouldn't be wise for it to capture the bishop because it's protected by the knight. Black would lose 6 points because 9 minus 3 is 6. So in this situation, the best thing that black can do is move out of the way. So let's say black plays queen g6. Well, now the rook is now exposed to the bishop, and the bishop can capture, and then let's say the king takes back, and now black has gone down 2 points. It's gone down what we call going down the exchange, a rook for a bishop. So the difference between an Xray attack and a pin, to review, is that in a pin, the less valuable piece is in front. So the rook would be here and the queen would be here. In a skewer or in an Xray attack, the more valuable piece is in front. So it's almost like you're really attacking the piece behind it because your opponent's going to move out of the way and then you're going to capture the piece behind it. That's what makes it an Xray. So the last tactical theme we're going to talk about in this video, although there are many others which I'll review in a part 2 video. The last theme for now is going to be called discovered attacks. In this case, it's also a discovered check, but the broader category is discovered attacks. So pause your video so you can think about it before I give the answer. And the answer is knight f5 check. By the knight moving out of the way, the queen is now checking the black king. And at the same time, the knight is attacking black's queen. So of course, when you're in check, you need to capture, escape, or block. Black can't capture the piece putting in a check, can't capture the queen. And if the black king runs away, let's say comes here, then the knight is going to win the queen. And if the queen tries to block, just to be thorough, white can recapture with the queen or the knight. So once again, by playing knight f5, white is revealing a discovered attack on the king and at the same time attacking the queen. Alright guys, so that's all the tactical themes for part 1. Look out for part 2 where I'm going to cover the remainder. The most important thing I wanted to get across is just a sense of what a tactic is. And hopefully you guys will start looking for tactics in your games. And as a little bonus, because of popular demand, you've been asking to see the other cat. Here is the one and only Turnip. Say hello, Turnip. Turnip's purring right now, if you can hear. Okay. See you soon, guys.